Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video I will show you how to implement the web API into MVC to search records between two given dates using entity framework. And here we got the final output. Notice the header tags, after that the start date and end date with the text box control and button control. Let's search the records between the two selection dates. Switch to the database. I'm selecting the record 2017. Let's copy that one. I'm pasting here. And the end date, I'm adding 2018 February 17. Let's copy that one. Paste here. Don't require this time. Now let's search the record. See, here we got the selected date range, the records from starting date and ending date. Now again, I want to search only this date, the starting date and ending date. Search data. See, here we got the results of the selected date range. Only we got Jack. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before writing the coding part in web API, first we'll check the table in SQL Server Management Studio. The table name is EMP table, which contains 5 columns: EMP ID, EMP name, designation, department and joining date. And I have created this table in the sample DB database. Now my aim is I want to search the records between two given dates, the starting date and ending date, using web API. So let's write the coding part in Visual Studio. For this video tutorial, I'm creating a new web API application. Go to File, New, Project, and from the web templates I'm selecting ASP.NET Web Application and the .NET Framework. I'm using 4.6.1. The application name is Filter Records between two dates. Web API is a project name. Click OK. And from the ASP.NET templates I'm selecting Web API. Click OK. And the project is created successfully. Let's close this default window. Open Solution Explorer. First, in this project I'm adding ADO.NET Entity Data Model. Right click the project name, add. I'm selecting ADO.NET Entity Data Model. The model name is Filter Records. Click OK. And from the model contents I'm selecting the first option, Next. Let's create a new SQL Server connection. I'm adding my SQL Server name. After adding SQL Server name, now I am selecting the database name. The table I have created in the sample DB database, so I am selecting the sample DB. After that, text connection is succeeded. OK. And here we got our connection string, and the connection string name is the sample DB entities, and I am saving this connection string in the web.config file. Click Next. And let's expand the selected database objects. I'm expanding the tables folder as well as DBO. The table name is EMP table. Here it is. I'm selecting that one. Click Finish. And here our entity model is added to our project. After that, open Solution Explorer. Let's minimize the references folder. Now the next step is we'll add the web API controller in this controllers folder. Right click the controllers folder, add, go to controller. Now I'm selecting web API to controller empty, add. The controller name is search data is my web API controller name. Add. And here we got our API controller search data. Now first in this API control, public HTTP action result get method get emp details is a method name. Now in this method name I am adding date time, the starting date, two variables I am declaring, start date, and the second parameter for the end date, date time data type, and the end date is a variable. After that, in this function I am adding my connection string entity name, which is a sample DB entities. SD is an object, new sample DB entities. Let's declare a variable to write the query. Results is equals to SD dot, our table object name is emp tables dot where class. In this where class I'm adding the lambda expression x dot. I want to find the records using the joining date, which is the date time column, and is greater than equals to start date, and x dot join date less than equals to end date dot to list method to display the selected records. After that, return OK method. The return is the results. That's it. We have written the coding part in this API to fetch the records between the selected date range from this emp table. Now before consume this web API into MVC, the first we require this web API URL. For that, let's browse the web API Google Chrome. And here we got the default output of the project, which is a home page. Now we require the web API. After the local host, I'm adding the /API/. Let's add the web API controller name, which is a search data. Copy this one. I'm adding the API controller name. Enter. And here we got the results of this web API URL in the XML file format, and it's showing some error message, no HTTP resource was found that matches the request URI. The reason, if you check our web URI, we are passing two parameters, the starting date and ending date. So let's add the query question mark, the start date is equals to let's check the results. I want to search the starting date, this one. Let's copy this one, copy and paste here. I just require the date only, ampersand, and the second variable is the end date. Copy this one, end date is equals to, I'm adding the same date only, so the starting date and ending date both are same. Let's enter, and here we got the results of this selected date range. One is a Govind and second one is a Peter. Both records were found between the select date range. Now let's consume this web API into MVC. Switch back to the project again, stop debugging, open Solution Explorer. Now in the same controllers folder, I am adding MVC controller. Right click the controllers folder, add controller. I am selecting MVC for controller empty, add, and the MVC controller name is date search. Is the MVC controller name. Add, and here we got our MVC controller. Now I'm consuming the web API using HTTP client class. So for that I require the namespace using system.net.http. After adding this namespace, now in the public action result index, which is a get method, I'm declaring two variables. The parameters date time, we are passing the variables start date, comma, and date time, end date. After that, IEnumerable. In this IEnumerable, I am adding the out t type. We are getting the records from this table name, EMP table. Let's add that one, EMP table. Let's create an object, EMP is equals to null. Now let's consume with HTTP client class. HC is an object is equals to a new HTTP client. HC dot base address is equals to new URI method. This URI method takes a string parameter. So string means double quotes. The URI, which is the our web URL path. So let's copy this one up to search date, paste here, semicolon. After we got the base address, and now declare a variable to consume the data is equals to HC dot get async method. The get async method takes a string parameter, which is the request URI. Between double quotes, the request URI is I'm adding the search data, which is a API controller name. Now I don't require here. So let's add the path from here. Question mark start date plus I'm deleting this date and end date plus. Now between this plus I am adding the starting date here. The starting date we are getting from this variable, and the end date is this one. So we don't record this thing, semicolon. So the next step is, let's don't give any gaps here. Consume data dot wait method. After we consume the data, then we'll read the data. Variable read data is equals to consume data dot result property. If read data dot is success status code. If the records are found between the select date range, I want to display those records. For that I am declaring another variable display data is equals to read data dot content dot read as a sync ilist. In this ilist, the t type, I am adding the table name EMP table method. Then display data dot wait method. After that, I want to display the selected date range in the index view page. For that I am declaring this object EMP is equals to display data dot result property. And the last one, in the return view, I am adding this object IEnumerable object. That's it. We have consumed the web API into this MVC container. Now to view the data we require the index view page. But before adding the index view page to the project, first we must build the application. Build solution. And here we got a message, the project built successfully. Let's close this output message box. Now create the index view page, public action result index method, select that one, right click the mouse, add view. The view name is index only, and the template, I'm selecting the list template. The list template is to display the records, and the model class, I'm selecting the EMP table, and the data context class I'm adding my connection string entity name, which is a sample DB entities. After that, click add. And here we got our index view page. Now first in this index view page, I'm adding the center tag. I'm closing this center tag below, and the index, I'm changing the header, search records between two given dates, web API, MVC, SQL server. After that, I'm adding horizontal line. Now after the horizontal line, what I'll do is, I don't require this action link create, and then come to the bottom, we have the edit details and delete links also, which I don't require for this example. I'm deleting those also. Here I'm declaring at using HTML.beginForm. The beginForm method, the first parameter I'm adding the object root value we are getting from the view page, which is the index, comma. The second parameter is the string controller name. Our controller name is date search, MVC controller name, comma, and form method, the third parameter, form method dot get. And now between these curly braces, I am adding two text box controls and one button control. Before that, let's add the span tag. Span id is equals to start date. Start date is a label. Now I'm adding a HTML text box element, input type text, and the next one, and the span tag id is equals to end date. I'm adding another text box control. After that, I'm adding a simple button control, submit button control, open toolbox, input submit button. The value I'm changing to search data. Now after adding three elements, two text box controls and one button control, now the first text box control, I'm adding the property name. Now between these double quotes in the name property, I am adding the object from the MVC controller, date time object start date for the starting date text box, and the second name is the end date. Copy this one and paste here. That's it, we have done the complete coding part. But before run this application, the most important, we have to change the controller name. To change the controller name, open Solution Explorer. In the project, there is the app_start folder. Expand that one. Notice here the route config.cs file. Open that one. If you notice here, the controller name is a home, which is a default one. Let's delete that one. Our controller name is data search. I'm adding MVC controller name. and the second one is the action result, which is the index view page, which is this page only. That's it. Now let's run this project. We'll see what kind of output we'll get. Google Chrome, and here we got the output of that index view page. We got some error. The parameter dictionary contains a null entry for parameter start date. The reason, in our web API controller we are passing two parameters, start date and end date. So let's copy this one, question mark, paste here. If I press enter, and now we got the results of this selected date range records. But when we are removing these parameters from the URL, we are getting this error. To fix this error, switch back to the coding part, stop debugging. Now switch to the web API controller and notice the get emp details, the function name, the data type. I'm adding the question mark, and here also question mark. And also let's add in the MVC controller also question mark and question mark. That's it. After we adding question mark to the parameters, let's switch to the index.cshtml page. Now we'll check the final output, Google Chrome. And here we got the final output. Notice the header tags, after that the start date and end date with the text box control and button control. Let's search the records between the two selection dates. Switch to the database. I'm selecting the record 2017. Let's copy that one. I'm pasting here. And the end date, I'm adding 2018 February 17. Let's copy that one. Paste here. Don't require this time. Now let's search the record. See, here we got the selected date range, the records from starting date and ending date. Now again, I want to search only this date, the starting date and ending date. Search data. See, here we got the results of the selected date range. Only we got Jack. That's it.